Bill Cowher, Hall of Fame coach, Super Bowl winning coach with the Steelers, and now a member of the NFL Today on CBS. Coach, great to see you. If I would have said 24 hours ago, how do you think this Super Bowl is going to play out, you would have said what?
The fourth quarter, who has the ball last, possibly. But clearly that did not play out that way. Total manhandling, I think, by the Philadelphia Eagle defense against that offensive line, which has been a little bit of suspect this year with the Kansas City, but came to the forefront yesterday.
Okay, but they don't even blitz one time in that game, which I just didn't understand the first half adjustments or lack thereof, or at least the impression of they came out and they went 3 and out, and I thought that doesn't seem like good, first half or second half adjustments there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to me, Dan, is that they got away from running the football. I mean, you're going against a football team that, number one, I think the Cooper DeJean interception for a touchdown, it's 10-0. You're still in this game. You're trying to get your footing, trying to get a first down. You go sack, 3rd and 16, and all of a sudden you get the pick six. And again, I think getting away and not even trying to run the football to kind of settle into the game and coming out throwing it when obviously your offensive line, which is not your strength. Again, they've been able to get by with it. They made their adjustments late in the season and moving Tooney out to left tackle. But this defensive front, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Jalen Carter, they just manhandled the offensive line of the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm with you with running the ball. I thought get 3 yards, get 4 yards, get something, because if they don't have to blitz, then, I mean, what an advantage.
Well, yeah, and I think the biggest thing we've seen with this team in Kansas City is they are a very good second half team. And you get the game into the fourth quarter, however way you need to get there. You need to minimize the differences in the scoring and try to shorten the game to the fourth quarter, keep it within a score, because you have the best kicker. You got a quarterback that can make plays with his legs. And I just feel like this game got away from them very early, and they could never get anything going on offense. And then they started to press, and I think that you could see that happening. And a lot of credit goes to Philadelphia. I mean, I think the Kansas City defense did a very good job of taking care of Saquon. But the biggest thing I always talk about is the attempts. I mean, they never deviated from the rush, even though he was getting stopped. There was a great lesson to be learned about that. They still kept running the football and kept that defense kind of at check, because they had to play the run first. And I think that was something that they can look in the mirror and say, maybe we should try to do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking is they kept trying Saquon. Maybe there was going to be a home run in there. There was always the threat of he can hit a home run here. And they're sort of saying to Jalen Hurts, we want to see you beat us. And he certainly showed them.
And I think that was what Spags wanted to do. I mean, I think they were going to take away Saquon, make Jalen beat him. And I think Jalen beat him as much with his legs as he did with his arm.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, too, when there wasn't the pressure and there wasn't the blitz and the 4-man rush. And that's the thing to me, Dan. When you look at this team in Philadelphia, they really don't have a weakness. And I think when you look at football teams around the National Football League, the offensive line, the defensive line, you have to build yourself there. And I've always said your strengths get you into the playoffs, and your weaknesses is what eliminates you. And I think that played true really for this Kansas City Chief football team. And a lot of strength with that offensive side, with what they've been able to do with the quarterback. Defensively, I think they showed up again yesterday. But the one weakness that they probably had, and they kept trying to toil with it all year, was that offensive line, and that got exposed yesterday.
Yeah, the Eagles are set up here for the next couple of years. Like when you talk about maybe a new dynasty, Philadelphia.
I mean, give Howard Roseman a lot of credit. Now, they got 3 big key 3-8s. You're talking about Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and Zach Bond. These are 3 key cogs on that defensive side of the ball. But, you're talking about an offensive line that's still going to be intact. You're talking about Saquon, who's still there. 2 receivers are coming back. Jalen Hurts, to me, and I think you go back to also going into this game, we kept hearing about the three-peat. We keep hearing about Steve Spagnuolo. But really the best defense in the league has been the Philadelphia Eagles and Vic Fangio. And so it's a little bit of kind of a disrespect card, I would think, that was being played there. And I can understand it as well. And I can understand why we're all kind of excited about seeing history being made. But I think that also didn't play into the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think for the Philadelphia Eagles, under the radar, underdog, going into this game, played exactly the way they wanted to play it. And I think they used that to their benefit.
He's Bill Cowher, Hall of Fame coach, Super Bowl winning coach with the Steelers. He works on the NFL Today on CBS. The MVP last night, in your opinion, was who?
The defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I could sit there and say it was going to be Josh Sweat, but I look at Milton Williams, and then you can't take away from Jalen Carter, because Jalen Carter is a guy that he disrupts a lot and creates a lot of those opportunities for the other guys. So to me, it's the collective effort of a defensive line. When you can do a 4-man rush and get that kind of pressure and not have to blitz, and you can sit back there in coverage and make them throw the ball underneath and play that zone. And those guys are great cut. They're good tacklers in the secondary. To me, clearly, it was a defensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Don't you wish we could give the MVP to a unit? Like when Brady and the Patriots lost to the Giants, that front four dominated. I mean, there's been moments where, the offensive line with the Broncos, when the Broncos beat the Green Bay Packers, that offensive line was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I just wish we would go with a group instead of an individual sometime.
And I think the group's got to be actually, I think the individuals come with the skill positions, because there's a certain skill position, whether it's a running back or a receiver or a quarterback. They can have an outstanding game. And listen, I'm not taking away from Jalen Hurts, because I think his decision making, and he's been an integral part of that football team all year long. But when you talk about the two lines, they have to work in sync, particularly offensive line. They have to work together. This is the best offensive line of football, and we're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So, did they get stopped yesterday? Saquon, they did. But did Jalen Hurts have time to throw the football? Yes. Was he able to scramble? Yes. Was he sacked? Yeah, maybe one time, maybe hit a couple other times, but he had time and feels comfortable back there. And that defensive line, like you said, I agree. The two lines to me are units. The skill positions are people. But to me, those are the units. And right now, I think no one has a better duo of lines than the Philadelphia Eagles. Like you said, set up maybe for years to come. Again, a couple key free agents going up there with Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and Zach Bond on the defensive side.
The push, whatever.
The brotherly push.
Yeah, brotherly shove. We saw it on display last night with the touchdown. But I wonder, I'm fine with it. If I'm lining up and I'm going to do it, and nobody else can do it this way, if Buffalo could do it this way, Buffalo would have been in the Super Bowl probably. So I can tell by the grimacing of your face that you're not big on the brotherly shove here.
I'm not. It's not a football play. It's rugby. They call it a scrum. I mean, that's what it is, Dan. It's called the way it is. It's a scrum. I mean, you're pushing people and pushing them over. I mean, listen, if it's just a quarterback sneak, I get it. But it becomes like a push in the back, and it's a scrum. And I don't know. It's not a strategical play, in my opinion. So,
okay, how do you get rid of it, though? If I don't allow somebody to push the quarterback from behind, would you be okay with that? That's just a quarterback sneak.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm fine with that. I think, but when you start pushing and putting a guy in the middle, and I think there's going to be, I think there's a safety element to this at some point. I would have to think, because when you have 600 pounds pushing on one person who's trying to stay in there to 300 pounds, that just seems like it's a safety issue. But if you can't, when did we start pushing the guy forward? And these late flags, and all of a sudden we're pushing a guy 8 to 10 yards. That was never the case before you stop the play. I mean, the play's over. When the guy gets stopped, he's stopped. The game of football is more strategic. It's, that's rugby. I love nothing against rugby, but if you want to get a scrum, you want to see a scrum, go to a rugby match.
Tom Brady's still the GOAT. Joe Montana still second on that list, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I think that you can't say not. But listen, I think I'm not going to take anything away from what Patrick Mahomes, what he's done in his career, where he's at right now, under 30, and the number of Super Bowls he's been to. Every year he's been there. This is pretty impressive. Again, I'm not going to sit there and take one game and tarnish what he's done. And I think what he's done, he's carried that football team, and there's been a lot of change that they've gone through. And for Andy Reid and that football team to continue to get back to there, and even the injuries they had this year, you're talking about Rashard Rice not even being there the whole year, bringing in receivers. D-Hop comes in late in the season. Kareem Hunt gets coming when Pacheco goes down. So, and then, for trying to make the moves they did on the offensive line. So, you think about defensively, Chris Jones, and yet to Spag, what he does with that defensive front and the different looks that he provides. It's a well-coached team. Patrick Mahomes, with no question, in the fourth quarter, as good as any quarterback in the National Football League, proves that year in, year out. So, I'm not going to take anything away from him. I mean, I still would put him up there with Brady.
What do you think the Chiefs do in the offseason?
Uh, I think they want to get healthy. I think again they're going to still be the team to beat. I think they have to adjust their offensive line. I think moving Tooney back inside with Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, that they had a dynamic threesome in the middle, and I think there was a comfort level that Patrick Mahomes had that they can take care of the edges. I think they need to get a left tackle that they can count on and on the edges. Because other than that, boy, I think they got some receivers coming back. I think they got their depth at running back. Defensively, they're going to be fine. I'm not sure exactly where they stand in free agency, but listen, this is a well-coached team. They got some great coaches, and they just did not play their best football game. I don't think they called their best football game coaching-wise on the offensive side of the ball, like as we just talked about earlier. I don't think they gave themselves a chance, but they were just manhandled by a better football team. The best football team in football won the Super Bowl this year. That was the Philadelphia Eagles. There's not a weakness they had. If it was that weakness, might have been Jake Elliott, and he was nailing his things from 52 yards yesterday. So he got things straightened out. And again, I mean, they're going to be the team to beat to me moving forward.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers plays again?
I do. I think he wants to play. I think there's going to be a place for him somewhere. But Aaron's like he's going to go to his dark place. He's going to come out. Who knows? It's I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you never know where Aaron's coming from. But I think if he puts his mind to it, I think he can still throw it. I think that he can still move around fine. Again, it's going to be the right place for him in the right situation. I just don't think he's going to want to get run out like he feels like he got run out this year from the New York Jets. I just don't think he wants to go out on that note. So I'm going to say somewhere he's going to land.
Could he play in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they are right now in terms of their quarterback situation with Russell and Justin and Aaron. I think a decision has to be made. What's the future plan? And what is the plan in the interim? I think there's going to be also a sense of urgency and taking some guys on the back end of their careers, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward. They're in the latter stages of their career, so they want to win now, and that's a big part of what they want to do. But you also got to have a plan moving forward and at that position. So I think there'll be dialogue there, but those be conversations taking place in that building.
Coach, great offseason. Hopefully it's quiet for you. Travel, you got plans?
No, I mean, I'll hang around here. I'll be watching you and see what you transition into basketball. Hey, listen, there's nothing like March Madness. I really do love this time of year because March Madness is starting to come around the corner here. So it's the best tournament going. Love basketball, and I look forward to that. So.
And your daughters played, didn't they?
Yeah, they played. They all played. Two played Princeton. One played at Wofford. They all played college basketball, and I mean, the women's game has never been better, to be honest with you. The skill level is unbelievable.
How are you as a parent watching his daughters play basketball?
Well, my late wife, when I used to go watch them play, she says, don't say anything about their technique. All I could talk about was their effort. So I was only allowed to judge effort and defensive, if they're defensive like mentality. So I said, just move your feet, stay in front. But anything to do with the shot or anything to do with offense, I was not allowed to make any kind of comments whatsoever.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate all the time you spent with us this year.